Welcome to the Inphamus Hour Live. I'm your host, the infamous Amadeuz, every single Thursday, 9 p.m. EST, Boom Bap Nation. Shout out to the loyal citizens of Boom Bap Nation. You guys have been DMing me. Where are the new Inphamus Hour episodes? And my response, Balistic Man, is I don't have branding behind me, right? So this week, I experienced, so I have Punchline Academy, Shade 45 every single Thursday at 2 p.m. And Rock the Bells posted a freestyle that I had with all females. Shout out to Petty Wop, came from Atlanta. And although it's appreciated, and it's not their fault, they don't know where the fuck she's at.
Right.
Like, where is this girl at? Because I don't have the branding behind it. So, shout out to y'all. I'm going to work on the branding and make sure we bring y'all an interactive experience. And shout out to people that's been streaming the Inphamus Hour. We are now approaching 8 million streams on all social media platforms. So make sure y'all run it up. Make sure y'all keep it live. And today we got Buffalo's own Balistic Man in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As my co-assistant here on the Inphamus Hour. How you doing, brother?
I'm all right, my brother. How you doing? Everything good?
Yeah, it is. So I find myself struggling when I travel out of New York City, explaining that Buffalo is not New York City, right? So when they hear this sound coming, let's just categorize it as Griselda. Right. I've heard a very good explanation about this where people kind of feel like this is called modern boom bap. Right. It's a slower version of boom bap, same drums, jazz melodies. And people kind of feel like it's coming from New York City. And I'm like, nigga, it's not. These kids in New York are drilling.
Right, yeah, they drilling, yeah.
They got auto-tune in their neck. I mean, they're not doing this, right? So kind of explain the temperature for Buffalo and what this means for Buffalo to kind of be in the map this way.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on. Second of all, shout out to Griselda, man. Shout out to Westside Gun, Benny the Butcher, the Machine. You know what I mean? They're making the city look real good. I think, man, Westside is the mastermind behind it all. He's definitely Buffalo, New York is people here when we leave. That's the thing, they just hear New York. Yeah. So they're like New York City. You know what I mean? And we had like, yo, we're New York, but we Buffalo, New York. So I think what Westside was doing was just letting them know, like, yo, we still New York, but we just wanted to create our own signature sound, and he was the master puppeteer behind all that. And he's doing a great job with I think keeping the culture alive, I would say, and trying and giving his own sound to the culture, which is like a homage of old New York, obviously, hip hop, East Coast hip hop. I would say.
I would say it's kind of in the lane of like RZA.
Yeah.
Some of the early Wu-Tang stuff,
right? Where
the records kind of don't sound fully mixed,
right?
We heard Ghostface specifically rap on joints that didn't have drums,
right. And
he kind of took that and ran with it. And so how is it exactly that you feel that your city was able to preserve this, right? Because in New York is like such a melting pot. There's so many different people coming from different places, and New York, in a sense, when people. I deal with a lot of guys on the West Coast. I can't wait to go to New York. I'm like, brother, you do not want to come to New York. Whatever the fuck you think is your perception of New York is not it. Unless you're going to swing your leg around and do donuts in Times Square, I mean, you're not getting exactly what it is you feel. So for Buffalo specifically, how were you guys able to preserve this type of sound and cultural influence?
Being just fans of hip-hop still. To this day, I mean, on the ride up here to the show, we was just banging old Nori and Capone. I still bang Half a Mil. I mean, rest in peace.
When I play Half a Mil on the radio, they go crazy.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize is like we was raised on that. Just like, you know what I mean? That we only a couple hours away, so we raised on it too, but we just didn't have the shine like that. So when we came out, a lot of us we was still rapping like that. So people like, why ain't y'all not New York City? Y'all Buffalo, New York, but you know what I mean. So
it's not the same.
It's in Westside. He was able to create like a different, like it's almost it's unique. It's its own sound. It's grimy, it's gritty, it's dark, it's slowed up. But it's Buffalo. If you from Buffalo, he captured Buffalo. It's one of the poorest cities in the United States. It's nothing but what they say it is, dark, gloomy. You got the weather's dark, snow, man, bullet holes in snow, you know what I mean? And Rick James, that's all we know for, you know what I'm saying? And it's just he was able to capture that in that sound, and do a great job at doing that. So that's what I would say for that.
In your opinion, why do you think it took so long for Buffalo to break through? I mean, New York is the mecca of hip hop,
Right.
and to kind of put it in perspective, this would be the distance from L.A. to Oakland.
Right.
So it is a drive. It's not close, but that territory kind of feels unified in a
Right.
sense. Why is it that we haven't had more Buffalo artists?
I think it's for that simple reason too, like what you just said about like New York City, saying that it's New York City and then you got Buffalo, New York right here, which is the Queen City. A lot of people don't know it's the second biggest city in New York State.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a passover, I believe. I believe that once it went to Atlanta and to the West, West had they shine.
Yeah.
That it kind of was like, all right, like when I watched the movie for NWA, and he was talking
Straight out
of
of Compton.
Compton, yeah. And so when they were talking about how they were like Compton got looked over as like a small city over there in their coast, that's how I felt. I was like, yo, that's Buffalo. You know what I mean? Like people getting killed, like all this crazy shit's going on here, but our stories are never gonna get told. You know what I mean? That's how we felt. But we had our own hip hop culture. I stem back to the early DVD days and mixtape days, with Benny on them, and Benny, if you ever ask him, he could attest to that too. And on the radio, shout out to DT, man. He had a show that was called Unsigned Hype. It actually played from Buffalo, New York to Toronto, and Drake spoke on and touched on this on the interview he did on Rap Radar.
Yeah.
He actually was talking about how Buffalo, we were the only way they got their music. So. Our show actually played in Buffalo, New York, and Toronto. So
because Toronto's not that far. How
no,
far are you guys?
about
from
2
the
hours. But we're on the border.
Literally.
We're on the border, literally. So literally from my house about 5 minutes. But they don't even realize, like on was it Scorpion? He actually had a snip from 93.7, our station. That's the Buffalo station that actually was carrying the music over to Toronto to them. So we were there. They would come to. He even said he used to come to Buffalo, get clothes and and then go back to Toronto and talk like with New York accents. You know what I'm saying? So it was that city that we still New York, and we want to stand on that. We're Buffalo, New York. We're not New York City, but we still New York. And when you come there, a lot of dudes that come from, you're like, yo, what the fuck? Like it's like a borough that's pushed to the side. You know what I mean? And I think that's all it was, is that the simple fact that it's not tied in, it's hours away.
Yeah.
And pushed over there near the border. That's why I didn't get the proper shine. But plus, we don't have too many outlets as well out there. We're just getting our outsources. You know what I'm saying?
Just when I'm leaving the hotel, I just want to kind of see what's on the radio in Rochester. Rochester's about 45 minutes, an hour.
Yep.
And there were no hip hop stations. Not one fucking hip hop station in this region. Why is that?
Rochester, I cannot speak for. I don't really know too much of I know about the hip hop scene. Shout out to the hip hop scene, is big. Shout out to 38 Special, all them boys. I actually was on. He don't know, but shout out to my man Pratt, man. We all were on mixtapes together, and everybody was scattered doing their own things. But 38 Special was on the same tapes. Benny, everybody, but their hip hop scene is real big. Shout out to the whole Trust family too, into the BSF family. But their hip hop scene is real big, and they also have the biggest Puerto Rican festival as well on our side of the Western New York side of things. Yeah, I mean, shout out to my pops. I mean, my pops is we have this thing called the Grease Bowl. It's in Buffalo. It's our Puerto Rican festival. It's big. And they climbed the grease pole, and my father was the champion for 21 years.
Literally climb up.
It's a pole, grease pole, and they have teams, mad teams, like 5 to 10
All right,
teams.
so explain this. All right, so are like bitches in bikinis, like
no, it's dudes and sometimes girls too. And it takes a lot of physical strength. Be big. You got to get a good trunco, a good trunk man, the trunco. You got to get a good trunk man, and you got to get your team got to be on point. You got to be strong, because this is motherfuckers. My father did a motherfucking backflip off the pole one year. He was known. He was real athlete. I think he was the champion for about 21 years, 18, 21 years. Yeah. But Rochester just made me think of it, because their festival is huge. Their Puerto Rican festival is huge, and their hip hop scene is great too. And Buffalo and Rochester are like brother and sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shout out to them.
Yep.
So hip hop is emerging, and we were talking a little bit off camera where I kind of feel like I'm just getting repetitive records, right? So we're all in this one record pool. It's a bunch of us, and shout out to the DJs that are really holding this hip hop shit down, right? You got guys like Static Selector,
Right.
Peter Rosenberg.
Yeah.
You got DJ Eclipse. You got myself, Inphamus Amadeuz.
Yep.
Shout out to Sway Calloway,
Yep.
who's the
Shout out to
catalyst for all this. But we are receiving records that all sound the same.
Right.
Every fucking record is a drum loop that they got from Drum Brokers. It is a fucking sample that they sampled from some, you know, Gil Scott-Heron record from 78. And there's nothing different. So what makes Balistic Man different from the crop of guys that are coming out?
So I'm more of a fan. Like I tell people, and Wes knows this. So man, shout out to 055, man. You know what I mean? Let first of all, let me shout out to everybody in the feds from Western New York. You know what I'm saying? I mean, free everyone. You know what I mean? So when he came home, a lot of people didn't understand his music, and I was always he knows I was sharing his shit, and it was always like I was seeing like, yo, 055, bro, 055. I'm like, yeah, you know what time. So he mixed a lot of Fed talk with the just like artsy fancy shit. His shit was different. I'm like, yo, I'm a fan of that. I don't see myself in that lane, but I'm a fan of that. Now what makes me different is I'm versatile as can be. So you might get a dance hall record where I'm not even rapping to a grimy rap beat where I'm rapping my ass off, to a combination of both where I kind of almost bring like a common ground. I've even done Spanish records. Shout out to my bros, Caba and Wally. We did La Crema. You know what I mean? It's a big band in Buffalo, old school Latino band. Old school band. They used to play at all the Puerto Rican festivals, and we did a homage to them. I did a joint where I was kind of singing in Spanish and rapping in English too. And I'm real versatile. I try to really break that barrier. Even when I was in the feds and stuff, I used to perform every weekend, and I was still crafting my music. You know what I mean? So I love different. I do not like being stuck in one sound. Yeah. I try to go from here to here every time I do a record, and these guys know. They just be like, I was just telling you a minute ago how I did the song for Zendaya. I did a dedication song to her because I think she's a great role model for all women, young women coming up. And I did a song called Zendaya Song, went super viral, millions of views, thousands and hundreds of thousands of shares. She liked it. It was on her Twitter and all that. So you don't know what, you know what I mean? And that's just how my brain works. I'm just thinking like, how can I be as different as the next man? And I could rap that shit all day. You know what I mean? I could talk that shit. I lived it. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to music is just, to me, it's just bigger. It's bigger because it's a big world out there. You know what I mean? And it's like,
it needs to be expressed the right way.
I just love other cultures of music. You know what I mean? Even I could go back to back in the day when we was banging Beanie Man and all that shit. You know what I mean? When it comes,
not the Beanie Man, not the
Beanie Man days, man. Sean
party.
Paul. Yeah, I mean, I love all types of music. So I will literally throw out two different records at the same time. I think the last record I gave you was the joint titled Tay Tay, which was more geared towards the ladies. It was just some vibe type shit, hip hop, but a little melody as well. So I'll throw out two records at the same. And the problem is, we'll really sit there and as a team, because you got Nova Vision, Buddha Bumps, and my manager Kenny, my whole team right here. We'll sit here. Even shout out to Sito over there at Sweet Sound too, and we'll sit as a team and we'll be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, this could go. And this could go, but what the fuck? Like, we don't know where to choose because it's my spectrum is so broad. Yeah. I mean, so big. It's sometimes it's a difficult task.
And it's good to put out A and B side records, right? Yeah. That's classic, especially coming from that day. So you don't know what record is gonna hit. Sometimes, like for me personally, the record that hit for me was a throwaway record. Like you know, my album went gold. Which,
wow! Congratulations.
I don't even know anybody that went gold, right?
Yeah,
you know, from our era. And the record that hit for me was a record called Hold the Mic, and this was a throwaway record. I did this record as a transitional record to go from a song about my daughter to a song about infidelity in my household. And I wanted a bridge record. And this was the record that got me on BET for the first time, MTV for the first time. It's the record that got me Hot 97 for the first time. And sometimes you kind of don't know what the record is gonna be for you, so you kind of let it go and almost let the people decide.
You gotta let the people decide. That's where I'm at. Where I'm just throw it out. You know what I'm saying? Let the people decide. And I'll literally get so many mixed reviews. I'll get the, yo man, we need Bliss when he was rapping with Benny like this, man. You was body. And I'll get the girls like, no, but we love when you do the dance singing. and I'm like, yo, maybe I could make a mix in between. And some people like that too. So you're 100% right. And we was playing all your shit here, repertoire, right?
Yeah, repertoire.
With Rick Ross, we was banging that here. West Side, was it West Side too?
West Side,
that shit was fire. He loved that
Side,
joint. We was banging all your shit on the way up here too. So
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, West Side was my first record that charted on Billboard.
Right.
You know, coming from the Bronx, I mean, you know, I am on radio, but I'm still an underdog. So this is why I kind of go hard for the Balistic Mans of the world. And shout out my man B.A. Bad, he's up there. And even for Benny and them early on, I understand the struggle because I know what it is to sit like in your seat.
Right.
And I think DJs don't understand that. They know what it is to be here. A radio personality knows what to be here. But I know what it is to be with you. I know what it is to be him. I know what it is to be management. So my perspective of the whole spectrum seems to be different. But I think you're being a little humble. How many bitches you fucking off rap? Let's talk about it.
Man.
First of all, shout out to my man the Shark.
Yo, shout out to the Shark. Shout out to KFMG, man. Shout out to the whole KFMG family.
Shout out to my man. So my man Shark is a Bronx legend.
Yes,
okay?
he is, yes.
And at one time, I was super looped in with these Italian niggas. Shout out my man Salise. Niggas that like their names are like Mikey Oz and like Paulie Cigars and shit. Like real. So Shark's man's hit me. He's like, yo, I got this guy, Balistic Man. He sends me this fucking video. Y'all niggas on a yacht in fucking Miami with Benny. So many bitches you fucking, nigga. Let's talk about my head.
Yo, listen, the women, I love women. I love all y'all women. I literally, I love all women, and that's all I'm gonna say is that, man, I love all women.
When you're in the club, like bitches come and they try to run your fingers through your hair.
Well, so what? If you literally, these boys had to grab girls off.
I hate when bitches do that shit. That's my pet peeve. I got long hair. Like I hate when a girl comes and grabs my hair in the fucking club. Like, would you like it if I grabbed your shit? And yanked it?
Yeah. So I tell boys all the time, listen, man. That's why when boys be like, oh, I be like, listen. I go to the grimiest clubs. I was in the feds with some real stone cold motherfuckers. But man, I almost had some bitches fucking pull me off stage one time into the fucking crowd. He had to go grab them. I'm looking at they yanking my. Now we're in the stage. That's about.
Did you fuck that night at least? Did you take? Hey, can you get this guy a mic? Did you hit? Because if bitches is pulling me off stage, my cameraman and my road manager is fucking.
So I almost got pulled off the stage. We got pulled to the back. I almost flew off the fucking stage. When we did the show, it was a sold out show. Was in Niagara Falls. Shorty came through. She was pulling her ass. I had to grab her, yoke her up. I had to like, yo, bitch, why don't she? I'm gonna suck your dick in front of everybody. Like I'm like, yo, relax. So we done had some crazy times, but like, listen. Oh my God, that was another. The strippers trying to rape me. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? I shouldn't have used the R word. Excuse me. But anyways, listen, I love women regardless. Is what I'm saying.
Sexually assault you.
They try to. They're just. I'm not having a problem with women right now. Or not. Some people could say it's a problem. I don't know. Like I'm respectable though. That's all.
Yeah, it's a good time.
I love women.
It's a good time. So
it's a good time.
I've been catching super controversy on social media. I said Jay-Z was not top 5, and I mean that because he's not top 5. And then I had posted another video comparing Big L to Big Pun.
Right? I saw it. I commented.
And for me personally, you know, I feel that Big Pun. I explained in the video. I feel like Big Pun, he catches slack because of the Yeah Baby project. Shout out my man Tony Sunshine.
Yeah, shout out to Tony.
He's gonna call me when he sees his clip.
Shout out to Tony
because he had such a part in this. But I just feel like Capital Punishment was the upper echelon of 90s rap music.
Yes, yep.
This is War Report.
Yeah.
Mobb Deep, Infamous Mob. This is Wu-Tang 36 Chambers on steroids.
Yeah.
Up-tempo, barring out major features. And why do you think hip-hop in 2023 still doesn't appreciate an artist like Big Pun?
You know what? I'm not too sure on that. That I can't. I would chalk it up to him being Latino #1. I don't care if people don't like it or not. I would definitely chalk it up to the Latino.
You think that still exists?
Yeah, I definitely do.
You think that still exists?
Yeah.
Because if you're not from New York culture, and I explained this in his actual video, if you're not from New York, you kind of don't understand how Puerto Ricans specifically and African Americans operate. We kind of operate as one. I can't speak for Cubans or Dominicans, but we all operate as one. We all from the same project.
Yeah, we won. We
Miss
all won.
Jones
People.
live upstairs from me. My mom sent me upstairs to get sugar from her.
Yeah.
My first kiss was with this girl who was
My father's an Afro Latino, so I had a
and
crazy.
and my wife is an Afro Latino.
Yeah, so my pops is Afro. They call me the light skinned version of him. He came up in here and he sounds just like me right now. He ain't got no. He was born in Puerto Rico. He sounds just like me. And he's a nigga.
Yeah,
he's an Afro Latino. Like he come up in here right now and he's gonna be like, you ain't gonna know he Puerto Rican until you start speaking. You know what I'm saying? So I never seen the difference between the two, but I definitely see the difference. Like when you are like a Latino and you presented as a Latino. So I think that I would hope in my hearts of hearts that Pun would just get it as just being one of the greatest rappers. But I think they try to single it as one of the greatest Latino rappers, which puts that in that box category.
Unfairly,
yeah.
Unfairly.
And Pun had that soul, man. Pun
was dope.
Pun knew how to create it. It's a well-rounded. That's what I was just saying with me. Like I'm sure we would have saw all types of Pun if you got more time. But a well-rounded record that's a hit, and then he could rhyme his ass off too.
He had the record, so he had like 100%.
100%.
If you're watching this right now, Boom Bap Nation, the Inphamus Hour, 100% is literally one of the most popular, if not the popular Puerto Rican
records. Yeah.
That shit come on, it's like over. Mark Anthony.
Yeah.
From Force Projects.
Yep. Shout out to Tony, man. Yeah. They did their thing with that joint. That's a classic forever, man.
Yeah.
Pun, man. Pun. Like I said, I always wanted to be my top is Pac. I always wanted to be a rapper because of Pac. So I used to be.
Is Pac your top too?
Pac's my top.
Nice. See,
so,
Gage?
Yeah,
I got somebody else that got Pac.
So Pac,
because they was roasting me when I said Pac was the #1 MC of all time. If you don't know hip hop, I'm like,
hey man, Pac is #1. So Pac made me want to be a rapper. I used to be in front of. How do you want? I used to dance in front of the TV like, yo. I used to think, but I'm like, I'm over here watching this shit, wanting to be a rapper, and then they're like, yeah, you ain't hear about this Puerto Rican nigga Pun. I remember my brother and them playing this shit, and I remember hearing in the middle a little. I'm a kid. I'm a kid. They got this on the cassette. I'm like, I'm young, bro. Like I'm like, what is that? They're like, man, you don't know, you Puerto Rican, you don't know who Big Pun is. I'm like, no. So, man, that's when I had tapped in, and I was like, what the fuck? Like the lyrical ability. Now I was like, and he's Puerto Rican. Oh, that means I could do it too now. Now I could do it. So that's rest in peace to Pac. That's when I ended up doing. I did a homage for him a couple years ago. People got the song mixed up. It was my tribute to Pac. It was called Puerto Rican Pac.
Yeah.
It was just my tribute. Just saying like, yo, listen. Even being a young Puerto Rican, Pac was so big. There's a Chinese Pac. There's a white Pac.
Pac was special.
He was so big. He influenced so many cultures of people that was just. Dude was like, we should have just called it Tupac tribute. I said, no, you can make a song and call it Tupac. That sounds like some bland chicken to me.
Some horrible chicken with no seasoning.
Right. Yeah. Just Pac with some sazon on it. That's all. You know?
No. Pac was amazing. I remember growing up. So my first introduction to hip hop was this record called Live and Learn by this group called Joe Public. And I've said this many times. When I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, you got to live. I saw these guys on the West Side Highway, and they were playing guitars and shit. I'm like, who the fuck are these niggas? First of all, how did you even get over there? Niggas is selling crack on that fucking bridge. And then my first cassette ever was Doggy Style.
Oh, I remember that shit.
And I was 10. Like, I had no business.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Shout out to my mom's, Mama Inf. I had no business with this record, but that kind of turned me out to hip-hop. And I was watching, the Hispanic guys coming through, guys like Curious. Curious was super big in the early 90s. Guys like the Beatnuts.
The Beatnuts. Shout out to the Beatnuts. Oh, man, they were one of my other. Yep. Psycho Les. Yep.
And then when Pun came, it kind of just, it kind of catapulted. But, not to switch topics a little bit, but, you've been having some very interesting exchanges on social media. And, So Los, shout Los Prez, he calls me. He's like,
shout out to Los.
He's like, there goes Cuban again. And I'm like, brother, I don't even know what's going on.
It was Cuban again. It was the Cuban guy.
Cuban again.
Yeah.
So what? Because so this is, I don't like to be controversial in the Inphamus Hour, but this is not something that people can't find themselves, right?
Right.
So people are watching. You're outside. You're in this kind of terror squad infrastructure where you got Pistol Pete, you're in the Up New York store, you're outside, you're running around, you got a record with Khaled and Joe.
Yeah.
And then how does traction happen with Cuban? Like, how does this whole nonsense start?
We did a record in the past, you know, years and years ago. I never met him personally.
So you and Cuban,
we did a record. Yeah, we did it. We did. I got joints with Chris Rivers too, and all that too. Chris Rivers, yeah. But it was just one of them joints to cut. You know what I'm saying? And I think because of what's going on, you know, I was at shout out to Fat Joe, man. He's another big reason why I rap too as well. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Joe, the Don. You know what I mean? Super. We wouldn't have a pun in none of them. Yeah. Like I say to the end, we wouldn't have none of those guys. He wouldn't have this guy wouldn't have his career if it wasn't for Joe. You know what I'm saying? Joe opened the doors for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm blessed to be. Shout out to my big bro Pistol Pete. Shout out to the whole Kill All Rats fam, Miami, all y'all boys. Pistol Pete, you know, he's helping me. He reached out to me. He loved my sound. He's like, yo, I love your sound, man. You sound like some like type Latino Drake type shit. Like you rapping in it. So, anyways, long story short, I done a bunch of records for P, and we started collaborating with him, and we were working on some stuff. And I ended up going to the to Joe's book of Jose, the book of Jose release, and you know I put some pictures out, shouting Joe out, and that's when Cuban Link had he had made some comments that in the comment box that were They were a little bitter. Let's just say them, and I responded. I just don't think it was the response. He to me he said that I was trying to grasp attention with what I did, but to me it seemed like he was screaming for attention, and he got the attention and the response he wanted
on your post.
On the post.
And
yeah, and he said
accusing you of.
He was just saying, yo, you left me out. First of all, I know hostility when you address me. You know what I'm saying? If you address me like, yo, what up, gangster? You forgot my name, so blah blah blah.
Were you shouting out members of Terror Squad? And
yeah, I was just saying it was
include him.
I was paying homage to Joe for the night
specifically.
It was an amazing night too. The book Jose release. Oh man, he had Busta come out. He had Dougie Fresh. It was just amazing for hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I just put a post up, just shouting Joe out and just saying what an inspiration he is and stuff. And Cuban must have, he must have felt some type of way, felt a little bitter, you know what I mean, or whatever. And he was just pretty much mentioning like, yo, you left me out, what up, gangster, da 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 da. Then he said some shit, you know what I mean, that you just don't say. Like when he said, yours truly official, Cuban Link, an official Buffalo Soldier. Listen, I read between the lines with everything that I do, and I could tell when you're being a little, you know what I mean, a little funny,
hostile.
So a little hostile too. And I'm not with the back and forth reality TV commenting and stuff like that. So I dropped Buffalo Soldier, you know what I mean, and just share my thoughts and just use that as an outlet, as a tool. And I really did it like questioning like what you mean about that, what you mean by you're above. I had people hitting me up from both sides. You did it on a public forum to where everyone's watching. So I had people hitting me the next month. I'm not gonna say who, from Buffalo to the BX. Like, yo, you see this, you see him up in your comments saying that, and it was enough to make me, say like, listen, I'm gonna respond in my way. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna jump in the comments. Listen, my DM was open, right? And then after that, he jumped in my DM with the Aaliyah 2-page, 4-page letter type. You know what I mean? So it was like my DM was open in the first place. Why didn't you use that? You see
Instead
the
of
opportunity.
putting in the comment section, hit me directly and let's have a conversation.
Where everybody's tagged so that they can automatically see. You know what I mean? And they did. A few people did.
But at any point, does the respectable person from hip hop as a Latino say, maybe I'm going overboard a little bit? Because, no matter what, guys like Cuban still paved the way for guys like you and me to be here, no matter how we personally feel.
And that's why I took it on the way up. They say your idols become your rivals. That's all. You know what I mean? Maybe I went. I can't tell you that I went.
I think you went a
overboard.
little hard.
You think I went a little hard?
I think you went hard.
Yeah,
I think the video post was, because I'm watching it from a journalistic standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is he doing?
Listen, man. I
didn't understand what was happening.
I was in high school. I was in high school when 50 Cent blew up. So I take everything into the
rob every person.
And I didn't do that though. Now listen, I never did know how to rob, but I just figured this. I'm gonna address this man. Listen, you wanted the attention.
Yeah.
You said. I mean, you're in the comment talking about tell him to pay how he weighs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like. It's like somebody calling you out. It's the drunk uncle at the party. Like, yo, what up, gangster? You forgot my name? Like, yo, what's up? Yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, you're truly an official Buffalo Soldier. That's how I took it when I read it. And that's how a few people from the town took it
Yeah.
and all that. So it's like, yo, listen, you're not gonna son me. I got a son. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna son me. So you know what I mean? Let's for hip hop.
Yeah.
For hip hop, come on, man. We watch
as a sport.
As a sport, right?
Yeah.
As a sport. What did I say on the record to make you warrant you the other? He went really left with it, and I'm glad I did it because it pulled out a whole bunch of shit that he was holding back because he got to talking crazy afterwards. So it's like, yo, listen, this is hip hop, brother. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
I turned 21 in federal prison with killers and drug dealers. I was around them my entire life. You put no fear in my heart at all. Like, that's it. This if you whatever you wanted to do, you could have got on the record and said it, and we could have did it for the sport of hip hop. You know what I mean? Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's help hip hop. You know what I mean? People are doing it the right way. We ain't, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it was. It was pretty much that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, yo, listen, people have went to battle for less. Let's see, in hip hop, come on, man. We seen
the pettiness is here.
The pettiness is there, man. People just did. I mean, come on. I just watched the joint with Fifth and Jay. You know what I mean? When they were talking about, yo, you heard that? He's like, yeah, I'm about to get you back right now. And went on right in front of Fifth. I mean, come on, like it's hip hop, man. It's a sport.
So is there any space to reconcile?
Record after what he said?
I mean,
nah,
there's
I don't know
always
about
a space.
I don't know, man. He said some foul, wild shit.
You said it's just hip hop. So
it is, yeah.
You yourself just said that it's hip hop. So if we're operating in a hip hop space, it's almost like things that you just kind of say because you're sparring. We're in the gauntlet. This guy thinks he's better than me. So I'm gonna disrespect him the most that I can, and it's still hip hop. If you watch a guy like Jay and Nas,
right?
Niggas fuck niggas' baby moms. If nobody fuck anybody baby moms, if nobody shot they mans, could there still be space too? Yeah,
I mean, only time will tell.
All right, there it is. I did my journalistic duties today.
Yeah, you did. You know, you put me on the spot. Buffalo Soldier out now. You know what I mean? I don't. You know, I think, in my opinion, I think that's gonna live forever. I think that was great for hip hop, in my opinion. Buffalo Soldier out now. Street Legacy, the album out now. So.
That's right. You're watching Inphamus Hour. I'm your host, the Inphamus Amadeuz. All social media platforms at Inphamus Amadeuz. Shade 45, Sirius XM every single Thursday, noon EST for the new hip hop picks. 3 p.m. EST for the throwback classic. I got Balistic Man in the building. He's outside. He's fucking the most bitches. He's on yachts with Benny the Butcher. So so you have a new project out now. Yeah. And where do you go from here? Right. So now you got all the social media attention. People are watching you. Where does the brand go?
The brand
from this point.
Well, I recently launched my brand, The Herd. Shout out to everybody that's been following. It's my clothing brand. So that's my cousin Cito Sweet Sound store, and then my brother Kenny right here.
Right here.
Kenny got Mighty Fine Fashion. Yep. So that's the Street Legacy is the album. That's actually a collaborational hoodie. That's a limited drop. Street Legacy is the album.
It's the Baji.
Yeah, and the Herd is the brand. So you'll see the Buffalo. The Buffalo is just a representation. Is a little bit about where I come from, and then the Herd is the community. You know what I mean? All my following, all my people. I always wanted to put something together where it's a network of people and everybody could network. It doesn't matter where you're from. The Buffalo is not just Buffalo, New York. It's just a little piece of where I come from, but the Herd could be everywhere. I got fans in Brazil. They don't even know what Buffalo, New York is, but they see the Buffalo and they know that herds run together. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that's where the network is, and that's where the family is. And that's as far as the brand, as far as Balistic Man, the brand with the music is just making new music, collaborating. Like you said, we was just on yachts with Benny the Butcher. Yeah. Shout out to my bro SP. Shout out to Fraction Music, The Shark, KFMG. You know what? Worked hard for this. Out now. It's probably one of my most big. If I had to say most impactful records, Worked Hard for this would be one of my most inspiring.
Ran that shit to the ground, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, honestly, I made it for those that, man, just need to know, like, yo, listen, you might be in a point in your life where you're not realizing you working. Listen, sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit. You worked hard for this shit. You know what I mean? Give yourself that credit. Give yourself a pat on the back. It's not about it. Use it for whatever fuel you need, but it's more so to remind yourself, yo, you worked hard for this. You know what I mean? I started this from the bottom. I worked hard for this. You know what I'm saying? But and then they seen us on yachts with Benny and all them. You know what I mean? Shout out to Benny for taking his time to come through. He didn't even have to do that. And man, That's one of my favorite records. And Street Legacy, the album out now. You know, me and KFMG, we dropped that album. We got a bunch of more stuff in the tank. But Street Legacy is the album. Like I said, this is the collab. These are some limited drops that I did under her brand for the album Street Legacy. But yeah, pretty much just from here, just grow. The brand is just gonna continue to grow, and just new music. Like I said, I'm Oh yeah. What happened? Oh, entitlements? Man, no. Listen. Yeah. Shout out to P too. Shout out to Pistol P. Me and Pistol P. We got some stuff in the works with Khaled and Joe. Like I said, I was blessed to work with them and collaborate with them. We got some stuff in the tuck. A lot of people asking about that. It's going to be dropping soon. We in no rush though. You know, we in no rush because we working on so much. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's already, everything's done in the tuck. We got so much stuff to work on, but I want y'all to get to know me for me, you know what I mean, first, you know what I mean? The work hard for this record is crazy, you know, with Benny, because that wasn't supposed to be my record. That wasn't my record. Worked hard for this was not my song.
What song was it?
So SP calls me from KFMG. He's like, yo, I got Benny and I got Shark, a joint. I can't have one of those songs you were saying. I can't have one of those boom bap. I can't do it. SP, I'm sorry if I put out the wrong info, but this is what he tells me. He's like,
because me and SP had some interesting conversation. I'm like, listen, brother, you gotta send me that shit.
He's like, yo, I need a hit, and I know you got one of those in you. So he sent me a few beats. I'm like, yo, bro, this joint right here, I got a joint, man. And I actually rapped it and was rapping and singing it over the phone to him. He's like, yo, what the fuck? He's like, so I was like, yo, I got something for it. I think I got it. And I dropped that. And he was just, once the record finished, he was like, yo, this is your record now. He's like, yo, I talked to Shark. He's like, it's kind of both of ours. I'm keeping it at my house, you know. One of those is, it's kind of both of ours. I'm just keeping it at my house, you know what I mean? It ended up being, that's how that record came, and it ended up being one of my most impactful records. And I'm glad I got the opportunity that he called me that day and had enough faith in me to take that record to where he wanted it to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of my most impactful records. I love doing stuff that people hit me up and they're like, yo, that record got me through some dark times. Like, I love hearing that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's also it's so up-tempo, uplifting, that type of record that you could play in the club, you could play on the radio, you could just one of those joints, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those records, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just happy to be a part of it, you know what I mean? And make that happen. So.
Yeah, so make sure y'all stream this. Work hard for this record. Balistic Man, yes. Shark, and Benny the Butcher.
Yeah.
Final question. Is there a space for this underground? We have this flourishing underground community, right? Yeah. We kind of refer to hip-hop now as separate communities. There's a drill community. Yeah. There's a lo-fi community, which in my opinion is the next wave of hip-hop. There is a boom bap community. There is a Spanish community. So is there a space, from your perspective, sitting in that seat, where this quote-unquote modern boom bap can thrive and influence young people in the way that it did in the 90s?
I think they're doing it right now. I think Westside is doing it right. What I like different about West is, and what he's doing, and it's particularly West, because he was the first one, in my opinion, when I came home watching him do what he's doing and had that sound. You know, one of my favorite joints, motherfucker, I'm a legend. Just his imagery alone is making the young boys like, man, I want to be like them. Coming with the chains, he's super fly. You know, I'm dressed head to toe, fly. He killing it. You can't knock him. He is everything he says he is. You know what I'm saying? I've had numerous combos when we chopped in, when we see each other, and he's everything he says he is. You know what I mean? Fly guy. He calls himself Fly Guy for a reason, and that's what I think a lot of the old school was missing. Well, at that era, it was good. But because of the new era, what everybody wanted to flaunt and da-da-da-da-da, Westside and them, he's the perfect role model in that space to make the young boys. They like, I mean, I seen young boys doing little dances and bops to his joints. You know what I'm saying? So to them, they don't even recognize that this is old school. They don't know that. Like, I've literally heard, they're like, this ain't old school. This is like new shit. So to them, they almost he's taking it to that level. If anybody's taking it to that boom bap to the next level, it's West.
Westside Gun.
And yeah, he's just from the image. I mean, look at him. He's pulling up in crazy big whip.
Yeah,
He
in
made
Paris. He's outside.
you think he about to drop a trap record or something. Then all of a sudden there's some slow boom action. He's like, yeah, motherfucker. Like, you know, you like, it's just some, and he bringing back the culture of hip hop the way, and we need him. So, yo, Wes, man, from Balistic Man.
Yeah.
Stop with that I'm gonna retire shit, man. We need you.
One of the best things that happened in hip hop was Griselda.
Yeah.
Because they changed, besides the culture of boom bap, they changed the entire ad-lib structure.
Yeah.
I am hearing trap records where they're like, do, 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 do,
do,
do.
boo, boo.
Like, and that's literally all from the Griselda infrastructure. Shout out to Griselda. Shout out to Jake for making it all happen. If you want to follow you on social media, how can I follow you?
Balistic Man with one L. Balistic with one L Man. You could look up Balistic Man Music 1 on Instagram, Balistic Man by itself on everything else. All music on all platforms, everything, you know.
Of course. And I'm the Inphamus Amadeuz. You know where to find me at. Of course, shout out to the loyal citizens of Boom Bap Nation. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Boom Bap Nation. Shout out if you're in the airport right now. If you're trying to get your flight to Dubai, make sure you turn the volume up. Till next time, stay safe, stay COVID-19 free. We'll see you then.